This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and as promised, here is our gaming demo with the MSI Apache Pro. We're going to use both the GE72 and the GE62, so the 15.6 inch and the 17.3 inch. They have the same internals, they have the same basic design, they have the same ports, they have the same quad-core Skylake Intel Core i7 CPUs inside, 16 gigs of RAM, 128 gig SSD, and 1 terabyte 7200 RPM hard drive to store all your games on. Both of these have full HD displays, and do watch our video review of the products if you want to learn more. We're not going to make you listen to it all again here. We're going to get into the gaming with 3 popular games right now. All right, as we get ready to go, first, here is the multi-zone SteelSeries backlit keyboard, so you can see what it looks like. You can set your own colors. This is just the colorful default right here, so good for playing in the dark, pretty good key travel. By the way, both of our Apache Pro models have the NVIDIA GTX 960M 2GB DDR5 VRAM inside. They are also available with the 970M. If you want to go up to the 980M, then you're looking at something like the GT72 Dominator line, bigger chassis than these have. All right, let's get going. First off, we have Fallout 4, a pretty demanding game, and we're going with the NVIDIA GeForce Experience recommended settings, which you can see we have right here on screen. And they're fairly aggressive. They're on average a cross between medium and high in terms of the mix of settings, and often because NVIDIA talks with the game developers, they know the best settings, so I tend to go with those first and see how it rolls. And we should have a pretty good looking experience. And we're going to use Fraps to show the frame rate of the game while we're playing. Now, Fraps probably sucks a few frames from the game, but that way you'll see it actually happening on screen in real time. And some screen capture programs actually that do streaming video would take even more away from the game. So, all right, so now we are in Cambridge, obviously. At night we have Dogmeat right here. We're pretty much pegged at 60 frames per second, dropping down sometimes to low 50s when I run. And if I go up the stairs here, change environments, try not to fall off. Let's go jogging around a little bit. Ooh, goodies. It's all playing perfectly well. Now let's see if we can find somebody to fight with. Whee! They're disgusting. So there you have it, Cambridge at night in Fallout 4, and pretty well glued to 60 frames per second. Running around, looking around, fighting some bad guys and gals. Handles it no problem, and I'm sitting very close to the computer right now, and the fan noise is not overwhelming. That's one of the benefits of having the larger chassis compared to something like the Ghost or the Stealth series. Not as quiet as something like the Dominator would be, but then again, not nearly as big and chunky. And now we're going to try out Wolfenstein, the New Order, and we're going to give it a go first on high. As you can see here, our settings are set to high, running at native resolution 1920 by 1080. All right, so you can see Fraps in the upper left-hand corner, counting the frame rate there, and we're in the 40s right now, and this is on high settings. This is the very beginning of the game. I already played through it once, so we're starting from the beginning again. The game probably doesn't give you discrete game saves to load somewhere in the middle. Looking very smooth. Wouldn't be a Bethesda game if you didn't have to pick stuff up. That's pretty good frame rates overall. Very nice detail on high settings too. And right now we're using the MSI Apache Pro GE62, the littler one, the 15.6 inch. Whether you get the 15.6 or the 17.3 inch, you're getting the same hardware. Obviously a little bit more room for cooling in the 17-inch chassis, but the size of the two isn't all that different, so not that much more room for cooling, not that much difference in portability. A little over a pound in weight difference between the two. So it's playing pretty nicely. And if you insist on having 60 frames per second for your frame rate, you can always drop down to medium or a mix of medium and high settings. But I think this is quite nice and quite playable. So that is Wolfenstein New Order playing on the MSI Apache Pro. All right, and finally we're in Battlefield 4, and we've switched over to the GE72, the 17.3 inch. And you can see our settings here. We're going for high. We'll see how it goes. I think that the NVIDIA optimized settings are probably going to be the most ideal thing, which would be a mix of medium and high. But we're going to go at high first and see how our frame rates are. Well, it's doing very nicely so far, isn't it? On high with the GTX 960M. So 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM inside. Yeah, that's really good. Go MSI Apache. Well, I better pay attention and duck. Considering the intensity of the firefight right here in the South China Sea section, yeah, these are excellent frame rates. I mean, you're close enough to 60, I think most anybody would be happy. Of course, you could always do a mix of medium high if you absolutely had to have 60 frames per second. And we were at 1080p resolution, native full screen mode. That was Battlefield 4 on the MSI Apache Pro GE72.